What happens when a star witness walks into Congress claiming he alone has the truth, only to be torn apart piece by piece in front of the nation? That's exactly what happened when Representative Jasmine Crockett faced off with Tony Bobulinski, a MAGA-backed witness whose story crumbled the moment she began asking questions. In just minutes she exposed contradictions, revealed his ties to Trump's political machine, and reminded everyone why credibility matters when you're under oath. And if that wasn't enough, other Democrats piled on, pressing him with receipts that left no place to hide. What unfolded wasn't just testimony, it was a full-blown takedown.
First of all, Mr. Bobulinski, do you know who Elections LLC is? Yeah.
Well, it's not a who.
Okay, well, do you know what it is?
Yes, it's a LLC.
Okay, and is it the LLC that your attorney works for?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so, okay. So at this point in time, I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a document indicating that the law firm representing Tony Bobulinski was paid $10,000 as recently as January of this year by the Save America PAC, which you may recognize as Donald Trump's PAC.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, so far in this hearing, it has felt like the worst episode of The Apprentice. I'm sure you're familiar with that show. It seems like my colleagues and maybe you and some others are trying to become the next vice president of the United States of America. You're auditioning or something like that because, Mr. Bobulinski, I know that you take exception to the fact that your credibility has been called into question over and over. But when someone comes to testify under oath, whether it's before this committee, behind closed doors, or in person, then we have to evaluate someone's credibility. And sir, I definitely have always had issues with your credibility, as I know that you are very well aware of. So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
Well, you should ask O'Connor about my
I haven't
credibility.
asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking. So,
Excuse me?
with my time, because it's my time, I want to be clear that when we were behind closed doors, you called a number of people liars. You called the Wall Street Journal liars. You called Cassidy Hutchinson a liar. You called the FBI a liar. You called Rob Walker a liar. You called James Gilliar a liar. You called Hunter Biden a liar. You called Jim Biden a liar. And just today, you added to your list, you called my colleague, Congressman Mr. Goldman, a liar as well. It seems like, according to you, the only person that's telling the truth is you and everyone else is lying. But I want to move on to something else.
Is that a question?
It's not a question.
Okay.
You'll know when I ask you a question, I promise.
Thank you.
So, the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that my colleague from the other side of the aisle talked about the company that we keep. And she wanted to go through a list of people that she felt like were bad company because right now the majority has been relying upon the testimony of someone who's currently sitting in federal prison. And we know that your company is the company of somebody who's been found liable of fraud, as well as defamation, as well as sexual assault, and for whatever reason can't pay his bills at this point in time. But I'm going to ask Mr. Parnas, so this is a question to him. Are you aware if Trump had any associates that have been found guilty of anything?
Yes, lots of them.
Lots of them.
Me included.
You included. Okay, so when you were called here to testify, you weren't called here to testify for any other reason than to tell the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, Congresswoman.
Now, we started this whole sham off because of the 1023. And that was debunked by you, was it not?
Yes, Congresswoman.
Way before we started this impeachment inquiry. And you mentioned a number of times this guy by the name of Rudy Giuliani.
Yes.
Now, you know, everybody is so stressed about the fact that Hunter ain't here today. But, you know, Hunter came and testified behind closed doors for over 6 hours. And every single one of them, they weren't limited to 5 minutes. They could ask whatever they wanted to. And there's a full transcript of his testimony. So I don't know what else they wanted to do besides the fact that they wanted to put on a show. But let me tell you something. This whole thing is based upon something that Giuliani came up with.
Yes.
And we tried to subpoena him. That's what I remember. If anybody else remember, we asked, we said, hey, we should subpoena Giuliani. But kind of like when we were trying to get his cell phone, they shut it down, right? Like they don't want the facts. But you would agree with me that considering the fact that you were working under Rudy Giuliani at the time that you went over to Ukraine, that he has maybe some valuable information that he could offer this committee as to whether or not there's anything that we should be investigating in the first place.
Absolutely, Congresswoman. I wish that this committee would subpoena Rudy Giuliani, put him under oath alongside me to get to the bottom of the truth of what actually happened in Ukraine and to the manipulation that Trump and Giuliani and the team went to do.
I agree with you, but somehow it doesn't look like we're going to get there, and I thank you for your time. With that, I'll yield.
Time's expired. Chair now recognizes Mr. Biggs from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Galanis, on May 9th, 2014, you received an email from Devin Archer confirming.
The hearing itself was already tense. Republicans were desperate to tie President Joe Biden to his son's business dealings, trying to breathe life into an impeachment inquiry that has dragged on without producing clear evidence. Their star witness was Tony Bobulinski, a man they hyped up as credible, confident, and ready to spill secrets. But the problem was clear from the start: his credibility had already been questioned, and his past statements left plenty of room for doubt. Republicans thought he would deliver a knockout blow to the Bidens. Instead, he became the center of a collapse that exposed just how flimsy their case really was. Jasmine Crockett didn't waste a second. She opened her questioning by pointing out something that might have slipped past most viewers, but it was devastating once explained. She asked Bobulinski if he knew who Elections LLC was. He casually said yes, but Crockett immediately corrected him. It wasn't a who, it was an entity, and more importantly, it was tied to his very own lawyer. Then she dropped the real bombshell: the law firm representing him had been paid $10,000 by Donald Trump's Save America PAC as recently as January. Right there, she connected Bobulinski's legal team directly to Trump's money, making it impossible to ignore the political ties. She then compared the entire hearing to the worst episode of The Apprentice, a cutting reference to Trump's reality show days, framing the whole spectacle as nothing more than a political audition. The stage was set. But Crockett wasn't finished. She turned to the heart of the matter: credibility. She reminded Bobulinski that in his previous closed-door testimony he had called a long list of people liars. It wasn't just political opponents, it included the FBI, the Wall Street Journal, Cassidy Hutchinson, Rob Walker, James Gilliar, Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, and even Congressman Dan Goldman. And during the live hearing he added yet another person to that list. Crockett made it crystal clear: in Bobulinski's world, everyone else lies except him. That pattern painted a picture not of honesty but of someone eager to dismiss anyone who contradicts his narrative. She let viewers connect the dots themselves. When one man insists that the entire world is lying, the real question becomes whether he's the one who can't be trusted. Crockett then shifted gears to highlight something even more powerful: the company Bobulinski kept. She reminded the hearing that Republicans were leaning on testimony from individuals already convicted of crimes. She drew attention to Donald Trump himself, pointing out that he had been found liable in multiple cases: fraud, defamation, and sexual misconduct, while also being notorious for failing to pay his bills. Then she directed a question to Lev Parnas, another witness who had first-hand experience working under Rudy Giuliani during Trump's Ukraine scheme. She asked bluntly if Trump had associates who had been found guilty of anything. Parnas didn't hesitate: lots of them, me included. That moment underscored the entire theme. This wasn't just about one questionable witness. It was about an entire network of people with criminal records, credibility issues, and ties to Trump's schemes. From there, Crockett pivoted to the foundation of the whole inquiry: Rudy Giuliani. She reminded the hearing that the so-called evidence Republicans based their case on, a 1023 form, had already been debunked. It was Giuliani who had helped spark much of this in the first place, yet Republicans had blocked attempts to subpoena him. Parnas, who worked directly under Giuliani, confirmed that Giuliani holds valuable information that could clarify what really happened in Ukraine and how Trump's team tried to manipulate events. He even expressed a willingness to testify alongside Giuliani to expose the truth. But Crockett pointed out the reality: Republicans don't actually want Giuliani under oath because doing so could unravel their entire narrative. That revelation turned the focus from Hunter Biden to the real elephant in the room, the GOP's refusal to confront the origins of their own inquiry. If Crockett's questioning set the trap, Representative Robert Garcia was the one who closed it. Garcia zeroed in on a critical contradiction in Bobulinski's past statements. During a private deposition, Bobulinski was asked who got him into the presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Under oath, he said, "I do not recall who got me into the debate." At first glance it might sound trivial, but Garcia brought the receipts. Bobulinski had not only attended the debate, he was seated with Trump officials. He had also shown up at a Trump press conference before the debate. Garcia exposed how ridiculous it was to claim you couldn't recall how you were invited when you were clearly embedded within Trump's political orbit. The exchange grew sharper as Garcia pressed him. Bobulinski tried to play semantics, saying Garcia was twisting the phrasing of his deposition, but Garcia cut through the noise, reading the transcript word for word, and reminding him that under oath, he had denied recalling who got him into the debate. Now confronted with evidence, Bobulinski shifted his tone but still avoided admitting the obvious. Garcia nailed him for pretending to be non-political while actively appearing at Trump events. He forced viewers to see the hypocrisy. Here was a man claiming to be neutral while standing shoulder to shoulder with Trump's campaign team on one of the most high-profile nights in politics. The longer the questioning went on, the worse it got for Bobulinski. Garcia highlighted that he couldn't seem to remember simple details like who invited him to the debate or who brought him to the press conference. Yet he claimed to remember specific details about Hunter Biden's business dealings. It was absurd on its face. Garcia made the contrast plain. Bobulinski could remember flying on a plane, but not who paid for his ticket or extended the invitation. That kind of selective memory is exactly what destroys credibility in front of a congressional committee. Finally, Garcia drove the knife in deeper, declaring Bobulinski completely an uncredible witness. It was the kind of blunt assessment that cut through all the noise. By this point, the narrative was clear. Crockett had exposed the Trump connections and pattern of lies. Parnas had admitted Trump's inner circle was filled with convicted associates. Garcia had proven Bobulinski contradicted himself under oath. And what had Republicans produced? Nothing linking Joe Biden to wrongdoing. Even Congressman Andy Biggs, while trying to defend the inquiry, had to acknowledge that no evidence connected the president directly to any business dealings. That silence spoke louder than anything else. When all was said and done, the hearing meant to damage Biden instead exposed the shaky foundation of the GOP's case. Their star witness left with his credibility shredded, his contradictions highlighted, and his ties to Trump's political machine laid bare for the country to see. Democrats didn't just question him, they dismantled him. And the bigger picture became clear: if this is the strongest case Republicans can present, then the case itself is already collapsing. So what do you think? Has this impeachment inquiry already fallen apart, or will Republicans double down regardless of the evidence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns.